It is my honor to be back in Binghamton in 2011. Thank you. It really is. In 2011, right around the September time frame, we spent quite a bit of time here. The citizens were incredible, taking care of each other, taking care of their neighbors. This is a wonderful community. I hope you realize that this step that you take today is an important one as you prepare both yourself to help your neighbors and to help in the community. You're taking responsibility of those around you as a first responder. The skills you learn today will help you save lives in the future. In the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy most recently, and Irene, Tropical Storm Lee, New York committed extraordinary resources to the recovery effort and rebuilding damaged communities and making them stronger, better, and more resilient than ever. Governor Cuomo announced the Citizens Preparedness Corps training program at the beginning of this year with a goal of providing New Yorkers with the necessary training and preparation needed in an emergency. The session today will be led by the men and women of the New York National Guard and be supported by, with our partners from Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, the Office of Emergency Management, and the Office of Fire Prevention and Control. Today's session is meant to provide Broome County residents with the knowledge and skills, the basics, to be better prepared in the event of a natural or man-made disaster. You will learn about the steps needed taken to be prepared for the disaster, how to react quickly and effectively, and finally, how to recover and rebuild. Also, the training does not need to stop here. Under the Governor's initiative, the state has launched a new website, www.prepareny.gov, to act as the digital home for Citizens Preparedness Corps in the community. It includes information on additional training, more disaster preparedness trips, ways to volunteer your skills in the event of a disaster. It continues the mission of making sure you are prepared to be a first responder both in your own home and in your community. And we hope that after today, you all become more involved in existing community-based emergency activities. I commend you all again, sincerely, for being out here, knowing the disasters that have occurred in the past and what this step that you take in being more prepared. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the Broome County Executive, Debbie Preston.
Good morning. I think it stopped raining, and that's a good thing. I would like to thank the General for the introduction, and it is a pleasure to host the Governor and the General to this very important event. I would also like to welcome some officials that are here today. Our DMV Commissioner Barb Fiala, Broome County District Attorney Jerry Mullen, Broome County Legislative Chair Jerry Marinich, Binghamton Mayor Rich David, Union Supervisor Rose Sotak, Broome County Legislators, Tioga County Legislative Chair Martha Salisbury, and Johnson City Mayor Greg Deemy. And I know that we have so many more of our officials throughout the county, and I welcome you and all the distinguished people that are here today. You know, our area has seen its share of natural disasters, dealing with devastating floods in 2006 and 2011. I know firsthand the impacts of these floods, as I've lost my home twice. But I always see the people together, and we always rebuild, and we're stronger after each one. I've often said, many times when people ask me, is this going to happen again? And I never lie about it, because I have to say, I can never tell you that it's never going to happen again. The only thing I can tell you is that it may. The only thing is we don't know when it's coming, and we do never know how bad it'll be. In my State of the County address, and we recently completed our comprehensive plan, and we talked about the need to get people and municipalities as prepared as possible for whatever is on the horizon. But at this time, I want to take a moment to recognize a group that has a very, very special place in my heart, and that's the National Guard, who were instrumental in helping our community recover after the 2006 and 2011 floods. They were here quickly, and they helped in a variety of ways, from helping getting people out of their homes, securing our municipalities, keeping the looters out, and staying with us until these floodwaters receded, and so much more. And I, along with the people of Broome County, we cannot thank you enough for all that you've done. It's very encouraging to know that there is a group out there like you who will come to our rescue if and when we ever need it again. As far as being prepared for the next natural disaster, it's safe to say that no one is truly prepared to deal with floodwaters rising so high that it destroys the home you've built or the years of memories that these floodwaters wash away. But there are things that can be done to get us ready as possible. And you're going to learn about some of these ways that you can prepare yourself, your home, and your family. Having a plan and being as prepared as possible will be a great help when a natural disaster actually strikes. Just so you know, we are doing things at the county level to make sure that we can prepare everyone the best we can. We work with our planning department, our flood task force, local municipalities, the Broome-Tioga Stormwater Coalition to minimize the impacts of the damage on communities when we inevitably are forced with another event. We need to continue to incorporate hazard mitigation plans into decision-making and institute policies that protect not only property but public safety. We worked hard to get a regional disaster supply center at the Greater Binghamton Airport. It's one of only 9 in the state, which houses supplies people would need during a flood, including generators, food, water, pumps, and portable lights. And I want to thank the governor for making us one of these sites. We need to develop a regional shelter to house people when the next flood or natural disaster occurs. At this time, the county is working with the federal government to acquire a large portion of the former Army Depot in Fenton. We want to transform this property into a multi-use facility that will help our emergency preparedness, and we want to make this regional. Some of the space would be used as a regional shelter to house people in a safe, warm environment in the event of another major natural disaster. Lastly, I want to thank everyone for coming to today's event, and I encourage each and every one of you to take what you learned today and incorporate it in your everyday life, because we never know. We cannot stop a natural disaster from occurring, but we can minimize the damage if we are prepared to deal with it in advance. And I vow to you, whether I am your county executive or not, that I will be beside you every step of the way in the event that we ever experience another natural disaster. And at this time, I would like to introduce Assemblywoman Donna Lepardo to say a few words about the importance of being prepared.
Hello, everybody. There's a step down there, actually. Well, good morning. What a crowd. It's so nice to be here with everyone, and welcome to Governor Cuomo and to all of you. And I can't help but remember coming into this place some years back, and it was filled with cots and dedicated people. Maybe some of you were here, people here at the university and mental health experts and the Red Cross. This community has been through a lot, but we've come together, and I have to assume that these storms have touched each and every one of you in a specific way. And when the governor mentioned in his State of the State that he'd be holding these citizen preparedness trainings, I thought, I hope he comes here. Well, actually, that was the second thing I thought. But I really hoped that he would come to this community and bring this training, because not only did I know people would come, but I know that we would use this information and we would train each other and we would prepare our families. Because as prepared as we are, even in my own life, during the last storm, my husband and I didn't have a plan. I was on the phone with him, worrying that my cell phone would die, and we couldn't get him home. Every road was blocked, and we had no way of knowing where we would meet up, what we would do in an emergency. This is extremely important for my family, and I know for all of you. So not only are we working on this preparedness core, but the New York Rising program is bringing lots of money into our communities. We get calls all the time about, what are you doing to prevent the next flood? Well, in addition to just preparing ourselves for an emergency, real dollars are coming in, and your neighbors and your planners are figuring out what to do with it. And from the bottom up, we have picked many, many projects that you will see rolling out. And we're very grateful to the governor and to all of my colleagues for spending this time and also these types of resources to help us prevent more damage in the future and to help prepare our families for the next disaster. These are bold steps. These are real actions. This is a real commitment, and I don't think I've ever seen this level of commitment and focus in all of my years in state government. I'd like to introduce my partner in state government, Senator Libous. We've been in helicopters together. We have been in shelters together. We have been through a lot, and it's a pleasure to introduce him to you today. Senator Tom Libous.
Thank you. You know, I'm going to use this little guy, too, because I'm not a monster. Okay, now I'm as tall as the governor. It's nice to see such a great crowd and a community that has gone through so much in the last 7 and 8 years. I'm not going to talk about any of that. You're going to get a great presentation from the Guard today. General Murphy, it's great to see you. I had the honor in 2011, 2006 to work side by side with General and his men and women of the Guard, true professionals. But my job is a little different this morning. I'm going to introduce our next speaker to you. In 2011, when we got hit again, the 100-year flood that everybody told us would never happen, you all remember that? I see a lot of heads nodding. I got a call from the governor. He said, how bad is it down there? And this was when it was just starting to hit. I said, it's going to be real bad, because we knew that because we were prepared. Because years from the 2006 flood, we had purchased a mapping system, a very elaborate mapping system, and we were in the control center. And as we looked at, we could tell you exactly where the water was rising and how quickly it was rising. And we knew that we were going to have a problem. The governor wasted no time in coming in. And when he came in, the first thing he said is, we need to go up in the chopper. I need to get an assessment. I need to see what's going on. And by that time, it was the next morning, and the waters had already hit, and people were evacuated that evening, and he got a quick assessment. The only thing I was a little nervous about, I'll tell you, this was in 2011. He really didn't know me that well. We were in the chopper. The door was wide open. And he had a ledge that he could lean on, and I didn't. And his staff strategically put me in that seat. And I don't know if he was trying to get rid of one less Republican in the legislature at that time or not, but he only scared me by telling them to bank quickly a couple of times. But seriously, he got an assessment. We came back to the control command center, and he didn't leave. He didn't just have pictures taken, talk to the media, and go back to Albany or wherever he had to go. He stayed all day. He sat at the head of the table. He brought everybody in. He brought General in and others, and he wanted assessments of what was going on. And then he started asking questions. And then he started giving some orders, because he wasn't happy with some things and how quickly they were moving. And when he left about 6 or 7 hours later, he said to me on the way out of the door, he says, if there's anything you need, I'll be back here immediately. He didn't come in just to take pictures. He didn't come in just to say that, hey, I was there. He came in rolled up his sleeves because he cared about the people and what was going on. My friends, it is indeed an honor for me to introduce to you the Governor of the State of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. It's truly my pleasure to be back in Binghamton today. And let me begin by thanking the true heroes, and I use that word advisedly, but they are truly heroes of 2011 and 2006, and they are always there when you need them. And they are a symbol of confidence and courage in this state, and they are the National Guard, and we thank them for what they did, and we thank them for what they're doing. General Murphy, stand up. Let's give them all a round of applause. County Executive Preston, it's a pleasure to be with you. I'm glad the rain has stopped. That's always a good sign. Donna Lepardo, who is a great assemblywoman. It's a pleasure to be with Donna. We do a lot of great work in Albany. And Senator Tom Levis on the helicopter is a very effective way of getting votes, I've noticed, because the door is open and the helicopter is going back and forth. And I said, so by the way, how did you think you were going to vote on the budget? Yes? Or are you going to vote no? Yes? He voted the right way, so he's still here. Let's give him another round of applause, Senator Tom Levis. But I want to, on Senator Levis, he's not only, I don't know that you can have this perspective, you see him through the district, and you know he's great for the district, but he really is a mentor to so many in Albany. And he's been a guiding hand for me. I'll tell you the truth, I'm a relatively new governor. I've only been there 3 years, and Albany is a different kind of place. And Tom has been fantastic for me. And we started a different culture 3 years ago. Because I don't know if you remember, but Albany just wasn't working. It was a mess. They would go to do that budget every year, and it would never get done, and it was gridlock. You know, Albany had gridlock before Washington had gridlock. They think they invented it. No, Albany invented it. And we had gridlock on steroids. And I started 3 years ago, and I think everybody had the sense that it wasn't working. It wasn't functioning. So we sat down and said, you know what, we have to try it a different way. And let's try leaving the politics at the door. We're Democrats, we're Republicans. That's really baloney at the end of the day. We're New Yorkers, and let's act in the best interest of New York, and let's act in the best interest of the people. And we've been doing that, and we've been getting the work done. We got 3 budgets done on time. We're supposed to get one done in 2 weeks, knock wood, which would be the 4th one on time. And if it's not going to be done on time, we're going to go for another helicopter ride. And we're going to say, are we going to pass the budget on time, or are we not going to pass the budget on time? But when the government works better, it's not just a civics course. When the government works better, the state works better. And we got the budget done on time. We've reduced spending in this state to the lowest level in 50 years. When you bring spending down, you can bring taxes down, and we brought taxes down across the board. When you bring the taxes down, you bring the jobs up. And we have 486,000 new jobs. Unemployment in every region is down. And listen to this, last year, we just got the numbers, the largest drop in unemployment in upstate New York in history, period, from 8.4 to 6.4. So let's give us a round of applause for my colleagues and the good work they're doing. Now, let me tell you what keeps me up at night as governor. Well, what really keeps me up at night, to be honest, is one of my teenage daughters keeps me up at night, but that's a different story. That's not a professional governmental story. That's a personal story. I have one of those daughters. Remember when you were acting out as a young person and your parents would say, one day God is going to give you a child just like you. God gave me a child just like me. But put her aside for a second, because she'll grow out of it, or she won't grow up. What keeps me up at night is the fear of the emergencies and these weather emergencies. and it is much worse than it has ever been. And I'm not a scientist, and I don't know the cause of what's happening with the climate and the planet, but I know this. There is a new pattern of extreme weather that we have never seen before. That is inarguable. I've been governor for 3 years. We've had 9 federally declared disasters in 3 years. My father was governor for 12 years. He had a handful. And I've had more in 3 years. And it's something different. We didn't have hurricanes in New York. We didn't have earthquakes in New York. We didn't have this frequency of floods. You know, they call them 100-year floods. That means it's supposed to happen once every 100 years. That's what they mean when they say 100-year floods. We have 100-year floods every 3 years. Well, then they're not really 100-year floods anymore, right? 2011 was a 500-year flood. Yeah, except it wasn't. We had a flood in 2006. So this pattern of these extreme weather situations, which frankly we're not ready for, we're not prepared for, because they are different. We just didn't deal with these situations. So we do the best we can in the moment, and if we're smart, we learn from what's going on. And we adjust and we learn. Fool me once, we adjust and we learn. And that's what the state is going through now. What happened? Let's analyze what happened, and let's learn from that, and how do we make it better? You will see. We have a program now that we're going to pass in this budget that we're going to get done on April 1, or we do the helicopter ride. We will be designing homes differently than you've seen homes designed before in the state of New York. We're going to have homes on stilts. You know, normally you see in the Southwest, you see some parts of the Southwest with a home built on stilts. You're going to see homes built on stilts. We're actually taking down homes that were built in floodplains and on wetlands. And we're going to be taking down the homes and relocating communities, because we have people who just say, I've had enough. We shouldn't have built there in the first place. Mother Nature owns that site. Maybe she only visits once every 3 or 4 years, but when she visits, she evicts everybody, and we don't want to go through it again. We're going to be designing a state-of-the-art weather detection system. Why? We kid about the weatherman. The weatherman never gets it right. The weatherwoman never gets it right. It's not funny when it comes to being ready and being deployed. We went through Storm Lee and Storm Irene. Storm Irene was supposed to hit New York City. All the weather forecasts, all the fancy radar, all said the storm was supposed to hit New York City. We deployed assets from all across the state down to New York City, because that's where the storm was going to hit. And we're watching the storm, and we're watching the trajectory, and it misses New York City. And there was a big sigh of relief in New York City, and Mayor Michael Bloomberg at the time did a press conference and said, oh, amazing, it missed us. Great. Yeah, except it hit upstate New York, which no one had forecasted. And in the meanwhile, all the attention and all the resources were deployed to New York City. So the weather analysis makes a real difference. We're putting in the most sophisticated weather detection system in the country, 125 stations all around the state, because knowing when the weather is coming, knowing how saturated the ground is, this makes a difference, and it can literally save lives. We're going to have in this state the first college of emergency preparedness in the United States. There is no college. There is no college, believe it or not, that does emergency preparedness. There are colleges that have courses, but no single college that actually trains people for emergency preparedness. We're going to have that right here in the state of New York. We're going to have statewide training so that all the emergency responders have the same training and the same protocol. So city, town, village, county, state, all have the same training. And when something happens, people don't have to connect for the first time and understand protocols. They all train together so that there's no confusion actually on the ground in that moment. So we're doing everything we can do. County Executive mentioned deployment of regional depots of supplies, pre-positioned all across the state. So God forbid there's another emergency, we don't have to ship things to that region. We already have them in the region. We're doing emergency evacuation routes, and gasoline stations along the emergency evacuation routes have to have backup generators so they can get the fuel out of the ground. So we're learning from what we went through, and we're going to be better prepared should it happen again, and hopefully it doesn't. But hope for the best, prepare for the worst. What today is about is the most important lesson to me, and the single most important thing we can do, which is make sure you are better prepared. You know who the first responder is? You are the first responder. You are the first responder in your own home. You are the first responder for your children. You are the first responder for your loved ones. You are the first responder for your neighbors. You need to be prepared. And the county executive is right. You know, we go through these things and we assume that we've been through it and we know. You don't know. And you can be better prepared. And you can have a plan. And you can have better skills. It will give you a sense of peace and calm in your own home. It'll give your family a support mechanism. It will give your neighbors and your block a support mechanism. And then we can build out from there. And that's what today is all about. Yes, we have fantastic first responders, and we rely on the police and the fire and the EMS and the county and the this, but you being prepared is the single best thing we can do. For you in your own home, and then for you in the community. And that's what today is about. It is a starting point to give you the basic skills so you know what you need to do next time and you're in a better position to respond. And then, as General Murphy said, we can build the skills from there. And it can be fun and it can be exciting, but at least we know that if it happens again, we're in a better position than we were the last time. And my last point is this, and General Murphy alluded to this, as did the Senator and the Assemblywoman and the County Executive. To go through one of these situations is frightening and painful and devastating. To go through it on a personal level and see your home destroyed and a whole life just washed away in a matter of minutes. To go through it on a community level and to see hundreds, thousands of people suffering and families suffering, and the fear and the anxiety that it creates is the toughest thing that I've gone through in my life, frankly, is seeing the suffering in these situations. At the same time, the silver cloud is how people respond. And the silver cloud in 2011 was watching you and watching your community respond. Because sometimes when things are at their worst, people are at their best. And when the pressure is really on, then you see what people are made of. And boy, the pressure was on, and boy, you showed yourselves to be a loving, courageous, giving, compassionate community. I saw people whose homes were destroyed, who were out there shoveling muck out of people's basements when their own home was in a worse position, just because they believed in one another and they were neighbors and that's what they thought they should do. I saw a community come together and gel in a way that was inspirational. And I knew, watching you, that we were going to be okay, because that's what we're made of. That's the grit, those are the principles, those are the values. And when times are tough, New Yorkers rise to the occasion. And you really made me proud to be a New Yorker. And you gave me inspiration. And we got through it, and I agree with the county executive, we'll be the better for it. Our expression is not to build back, but to build back better. Let's learn, let's grow, let's be a tighter, stronger community for the experience. and today is part of that. Made me proud to be a New Yorker, made me honored to be the governor of the state of New York. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Governor. Is it okay to release the helicopter now? Okay, so they're going, we'll send them back. Hey, thank you for taking this first step. It is an awesome sight to be standing up here to see how many people are engaged in their community and care. So thank you for that. Again, thank you to everyone for their comments. That concludes the introductory part of the program.